This one is so modern. It doesn't really display it very well. But when you listen to some of the songs from Portugal, they use that kind of what do you call it? They use all the tones, and it sounds a lot like the sitar music you hear from the Indian music. So his point was that the Greek culture basically created this new model, and it, of course it kept evolving. You read about Galileo's father; he was involved in an argument over how guitars should be tuned, etc. And it's not really until I think Bach where we get in his work the well-tuned or the well-tempered clavier, right? Or they're kind of inventing pianos by then, and how the strings should be tuned, basically kind of still the way we get a lot of our music today. Although you can get some really strange things. Have you ever listened to Bjork?
Doesn't she use a different thing than just A equals 440 hertz?
I'm not sure what that means, but I'm sure that's right.
In like a Greek opera, they use, I think, A equals 444 hertz for like what A is, like the note A.
Speaking to a music major.
Okay.
Right here.
Ah.
This just is that way was worth the wait.
Okay, well, so music, kind of interesting little snippet of history of music, I guess. But when we think about how music is used in rituals, especially in church, there's definitely an impact. And by the way, we could also think of the structures of churches and the way they're made. Even if you go out to St. Andrews in Eagle River, which is the biggest church in Alaska, and I went to a concert there, and yes, it's clearly constructed in order to create that sense of echo that you get, that gives you my own thinking about it, and I haven't read enough to know where it might come from. But if you've ever been in one of those big caves, like the grottos and the big caves, like in Texas and New Mexico, the sounds in those caves give you almost the same kind of sound that you hear in those big churches with that kind of echo chamber. That's really impressive. Sophia, the Basilica Sophia, or what's it called? The one in Istanbul, the Hagia Sophia, right? If you think about the kind of music that building was designed for, it's just, you had the monks standing around and singing, and the echoes, are just absolutely mind-boggling. The effect it has on our psyche, and it's clearly part of it. And so there's clearly the sense that by that use of sound, you can literally escape the mundane world and, at least temporarily, be part of eternity. Wow, the divine. So if you think of that as the difference here, how can we, at least temporarily, be part of the eternal instead of the corruptible situation we're in? Okay. So the quiz question is, what do you think of the difference between Augustine's theory of music and Plotinus? So have a look and see if you can work with that a little bit. Did I give you that question well enough? Nope, that's the next day. I have to keep reminding myself I'm half a week behind here. You know, the one will ask next class. I guess I can't help it, but already start leaning towards it because it's so much fun. Is Anselm. Because when we go to Bishop Anselm, who was a Italian, I just want Saint Anselm himself, not the college. There we go. So he's Saint Anselm, usually called of Canterbury, because he was appointed the Bishop of Canterbury, the Archbishop of Canterbury. And in fact, he's the Archbishop of Canterbury when the Norman conquest has already occurred and William the Conqueror is now King of England. And the Pope sends Anselm, who had been the head of the monastery at Cluny, which was like the biggest monastery at the time. And by the way, where as a much younger man, he wrote all the things that we're going to be discussing. But later on in his life, the Pope sends him on to Canterbury, where he's in constant conflict with William, because William wants the Normans to just take over everything, but the church feels an obligation to the Saxons. You can't just, beat the crap out of the Saxons. They're Christians too. And as King of England, now you're king not just of your Norman knights, but of the Saxons as well. So whenever William wanted to do things at the expense of the Saxons, the church basically stood in his way. Very frustrating. As a result, Anselm became one of the most traveled bishops I've ever read about, because every time he said no to William, William would say to him, well, go check with the Pope. And back then, when you had to go check with the Pope, that meant getting on the boat, sailing across the Channel, marching through France, heading into Italy, going through the Alps, down to Rome, having a chat with the Pope. Hey, William wants to do this. What do you think? No. That's what I told him. I'm going, and then you go back, tell it no. The Pope says no. Well, ask him again. Oh, okay. And off he went. Constantly going back and forth to Rome, checking on, making sure the Pope actually feels what he thinks. And yes, the Pope always agrees with him because, well, they were Christian. And William was trying to squeeze, the poor Saxons as much as he could, So one of those things. Kind of fun. He's even there for William's death and gives him last rites as he's dying. So it's a fascinating kind of history. But the things that make him most famous still today is his definition of God that we see in the ontological argument. And in fact, I think I already have it. This is from his Proslogion. There's two works that Anselm wrote that discuss this. The Proslogion is the smaller version. The Monologion is the larger one. But this is from the Proslogion, and you already skipped to chapter 2, where he says, "Truly there is a God, although the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God." Candy bar to anyone who knows where in the scripture that comes from. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. This is working out well because I don't have a candy bar. Okay, but so that's kind of a famous line. It'll come up again in the course when we're talking about Thomas Hobbes, because Thomas Hobbes will use it and misquote it on purpose. It's funny. He says, "The fool has said in his heart, there is no justice." So that's kind of fun. So you'll hear that phrase again. But so, truly there is a God. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. I'm wondering, who the heck is the fool?
Is it Psalms 14:1?
You found it. Wow.
No, it's in the paragraph.
Well, that was part of the test, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
You know, it says right there where it's from. But that's okay. No one noticed. Except you, who, wow, math majors again. You all should be math majors. Really, that's-
Oh, I see it.
See? It spreads. Once it's, wow.
Did you know it was there?
At one time, I must have known.
It's
I've
also
read the
in
whole
Roman
stuff. I
numerals.
read this stuff multiple times. I've been teaching this for 28 years. Sometimes 3 or 4 times a year, maybe more than that, because I've often had double courses, etc. But still, I'm also 71, so that becomes an issue. I just met a friend on the path walking down from my secret parking place, which I'm not telling anybody where it is. And you're the artist, and I'm like, yeah, Don. Whatever his last name was, and he said it, and I'm like, whoa, Drucker, whatever. He's a famous artist in town. I can't, like, jeez, and I know him. I'm thinking the last time we talked together, we were at the same, breakfast place, downtown.
So
And,
awkward.
Pardon?
That's so awkward.
It is. Oh my! And I'm only 71. I'm just a kid. All my friends are so much older than me. I mean, Bob is 98.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
really cool.
President Carter is 98, and he's now in the news because everyone's he's going to die now. Let's watch. You know how that goes. Sorry, I am weird, I suppose. I mean, he was 97 last year, and did we watch? No, but he's 98 now, and he's like, I'm not going to get any more of these needles. He's against hypodemic hurdles, I guess.
Do you think he's gonna make it to 100?
He's in hospice right now.
Yeah, he's in hospice. That usually means 3 months at the most when you elect hospice.
He's so close. So close.
Well, just in the last year, I had 2 friends who died over 100. Ruth Sheridan was 102.
Ooh.
And Sylvia Short was 101. Sylvia Short was the wife of Eugene Short, and the building on campus that's called the Eugene Short Building.
Yeah.
That's, if you go up the stairway, it used to be that there was a really ugly picture of him there on the wall. I don't know if it's still there, probably.
I think it is.
That's Eugene Short. She killed him way earlier, Yeah. I mean, he died earlier, Oh, interesting history there. But so, here we go. This very fool, when he hears of this being of which I speak, a being than which nothing greater can be conceived. So you get this. This is the definition here. That you are that which we believe, and indeed we believe that you are a being than which nothing greater can be conceived. Now, this is just math, actually, if you think about it. That's why I usually ask the quiz question. Should I ask it already? That would bring us up. Can I ask you 2 quiz questions at once?
Yeah, good. Sure. Yes.
Sure. I like that. That's so East Coast. Sure.
East Coast. I say it all the time. I'm from here.
You're from here. Just because you're from here doesn't mean you haven't picked up some East Coast accent.
Nah, it's all from here.
Nah. Where's nah from? There's a song, sha-na-na.
That's a slang term.
Slang. I've heard of that. Yes.
It's like slang.
Girly pop?
Girl.
Lingo is not English.
What's not English? English isn't
I said
English.
my lingo is not English.
Lingo isn't English either. Lingo is what?
Short for evolution.
Could be, I don't know.
You said it was-
Language is not a real language. It's a hodgepodge. Remember, hodgepodge is Hungarian. It's a mishmash, and mishmash is
Yeah,
Yiddish.
I don't like to
And
use real words.
it's just fun, actually. And that's one of the strengths of English, by the way, is that it's an amoeba-like, just eating up word. Oh, that's a good word. We got that one too. Yeah. We already did the gung ho. That was fun.
Why does it still have, there's nothing to still have a native words, it's incorrect. English dictionary. And it's in there.
Remember, the important thing that I love to promote is the idea that even though we have these words in this language, by the way, the French have a word